Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mac Story.
Think about this. Too often you can't reach what you need most because you won't let go of what you want most. Hey everyone, this is Mac Story, welcoming you to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. When we finish up today, we'll be complete with 5 of the 10 foundational elements of intentional transformation. This 11-part series I'm sharing with you. Pretty excited about it. I hope you've actually got the book, and maybe you already finished with the book. Now you're still listening. That'd be great if that's the case. But some people won't ever buy the book, and that's okay. I'm giving you this stuff for free, but I'm telling you, we're going to talk about sacrifice today. Sacrifice is the foundation of discipline, and you may have to sacrifice $18 to go get the book. You may have to sacrifice about 4 hours to read the book. But it could change your life. Whatever it is you want to get better. But let's recap right quick before we dive into today's session. Remember, everything starts with values because they lead to your thoughts. So thought is the first foundational element. It's the foundation of choice. Choice is the second foundational element, and it's the foundation of vision. Vision is the third foundational element, and it's the foundation of hope. And hope is the fourth foundational element, and is the foundation of sacrifice. Hope's what we talked about last time. And we kind of transition each one of them. We kind of transition to the next one. And today we're on the 5th level. The 5th elemental level, foundational layer, whatever you want to call it. Sacrifice is the foundation of discipline. See, hope wasn't a strategy, but you need hope to develop a strategy. But then sacrifice is never enough. But you got to have sacrifice in order to develop discipline. So hope leads to the sacrifice. Sacrifice creates space and a foundation for discipline. And we'll talk about discipline in the next episode. But we got to talk about each level and the past level and the next level so you understand how they truly build upon one another. So I want to start off with a quote. I ain't even going to try to say this guy's name. It's spelled Vaibhav. Last name Shah. Shah. I can't even read the letters, much less pronounce it. Anyway, you read my book, you can see it in writing. The quote's from the book. But this gentleman says, whenever you see a successful person, you only see the public glories, never the private sacrifices to reach them. You know, and I'll say part of my journey, and in the book, again, I talk about how I stopped drinking alcohol and why, and, choosing to stop using profanity and why, and becoming a Christian and why, and all that kind of stuff. I talk about my personal stories, and it takes a long time when I actually start talking about them out loud. And also, I don't want to spoil it telling you all the details of those stories. But you'll probably find why I quit drinking alcohol and how and the circumstances around that probably pretty interesting. But that story is actually in the book along with these teachings. But the point of this series is to sprinkle in a little bit of my story, but it's mainly to teach you these principles and hopefully motivate and inspire you to go buy the book where you can digest them, mark them up, fold the pages, highlight, go back to it, revisit it, make it a tool. But I think about that quote. When you see a successful person, you only see the public glories, never the private sacrifices to reach them. You know, we meet a lot of people who they aspire to do what we're doing. They want to do what we do. You may want to do something completely different, but again, the principles apply to everyone in every situation, in every circumstance. You may see somebody doing what it is you want to do. It may be not what I'm doing, but you know people out there who you see they're very successful. They're doing what you want to do. Those are the public glories. They're successful. They're making it happen. Most of the time, though, you don't see the private sacrifices to reach them. You don't see what it took them to get there, unless you actually know those people personally and you were there way back when. You know, if you knew me personally when I had my souped up hot rod Corvette Z06 with headers and all that kind of crazy stuff, and that thing sounded like a NASCAR, wicked car to me. And I had a awesome big orange Ford Raptor 4-wheel drive. That thing made for racing across the desert. I had those two things sitting in the yard, and Rhea had her Hummer sitting in the yard, and we had a pretty nice home and a big hot tub on the back deck and a big pool, saltwater pool out back. For me, we were doing pretty good. But I had got there doing what I used to do, not doing what I'm doing now. But I was in a hurry to do what I'm doing now. And because of my values were changing and my thoughts were changing and my choices were changing, my vision changed, which led to hope that I could go do what I'm doing today, which led to the sacrifices. When I got rid of my Corvette Z06 and my Ford Raptor and I started driving a Nissan Sentra by choice, I still had plenty of money. But I knew what I was about to do was going to be tough, and I needed as much money as I could have, so I got rid of my toys. Rhea got rid of her Hummer and started driving a Corolla, Toyota Corolla. Nothing wrong with either one of those vehicles. Nissan Sentra's fine, Toyota Corolla's fine, but I'm telling you, it ain't the life that we had been living. It don't compare to a Corvette Z06 if that's the kind of car you like to drive. I'm sure you probably can understand. But I gave it up, but I didn't give it up just to be giving it up. I was making sacrifices for my future. I was doing what I'm actually teaching you right now. All that stuff I went through is what I went through in my mind when I wrote this book. I said, what caused me to do all those things, and how did I get from there to here? And if I had to package it and teach it to somebody, what does all that look like in a lesson? That's what this book is. Yeah, I read a lot of books, but I'm not just reading books and then telling you in here what I read in a book. I read a lot of books and I go apply this stuff just like I'm challenging you to do. Then I go get results, or either I change and apply something different till I can get a result. And then in my books, I share my stories and how I apply different principles and got results and had success. So it's based on reality for me. When you hear me speak, or if you want to look into my life, see where I come from, where I'm headed, I'm living this stuff every day. Still, and always will be. But people who see me on stage or they see me now, I got my cool Blue Collar Leadership truck with my Blue Collar Leadership logo on the side and a Old Glory flag on the bottom, and it looks cool. And got a couple inches of lift and some cool tires and wheels, and I got it kind of looking sharp. And people see me riding around and speaking and traveling, but they didn't see I had to give up a lot to get back to here. I didn't go from Corvette Z06 to that. I went from Corvette Z06 and having about 20 grand a month left over to blow to being broke. And then Rhea got jealous of me being broke, so she quit her job and all that stuff like I did and got broke with me. She was jealous of me being broke. Not really. She was living this stuff. She was passionate. She had hope, and she's willing to sacrifice. And we both gave up our careers. We had worked many, many years and gained a lot of experience. And Rhea, she had worked 10 years while she's working full time, 10 years of sacrifice to work away from no GED or no high school diploma to an MBA with a 4.0 while she was working. She did all that so she could grow her career in healthcare administration. Not so she could do this, but then she tossed all that to the side and said, I want to go tell my story. I want to talk about how to lead yourself well, personal growth and development and leadership. Because that's one thing my wife can do. If you know her story, is she can lead herself well. And if you know anything about leadership development, if you can't lead yourself well, you don't deserve to lead others at all. So it starts with leading self well, and she is a model of that. But let's talk about this again. I started out this episode saying, too often you can't reach what you need most because you won't let go of what you want most. And just in general in life, I can tell you what most people want. Most people want security and stability. That's what they want. That's what most people want. And if you think about it, you'll say, well, why not? That makes sense. That's what I want too. I want security and stability. That may be what you want, but I'm about to tell you what you need. What you need is freedom and options. But see, most people strive and work hard for security and stability. And they never get freedom and options because they're trying to get security and stability. But somebody who truly understands what the big picture is about, and they got a vision, who they want to be, where they want to be, and they want life to be good, meaning they're doing what they want to do, and they're earning what they want to earn, whatever that means, that combination. What people need is freedom and options. That's what that will give you, freedom and options. See, here's the magic trick behind all that, the key point. When you actually have freedom and options, you have security and stability. But you may get security and stability and you don't have freedom and options. This whole book is to help you, guide you, challenge you, motivate and inspire you to figure out what are freedom and options for me. How do I get freedom and options? Because that's what I want you to have. But you may be focused on security and stability. And if you don't ever get off of that, you may not ever get freedom and options. I know people, they're so worried about security and stability, they work a job they hate because they want security of that check and stability of that regular schedule. Round and around they go. They want benefits and all that kind of stuff, and they're miserable. And then they work till they get old, and they finally make it to retirement, but then they're old, so they ain't going to do much except wait to die. There's a lot of people out there like that because they're not willing to sacrifice. Instead of paying the price to sacrifice, they pay a higher price of living a life where they didn't sacrifice. So why is sacrifice so hard? It's because you feel the loss immediately. And most often the gain doesn't usually come immediately. Most often you got to wait and wait and wait and wait. Way back in 1995 when I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I decided to start community college, go get a degree. And I was a single parent. I had to give up time and money and sleep and energy to go start working on that degree while I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. That was sacrifice. I felt the loss immediately. And I didn't want to go. But even way back then, I had hope that if I actually went and got an education, that I'd start moving up the ranks. And I did later. And it actually didn't take that long. Once the leaders in my organization started to see I was going to school, I was making pretty much straight A's. They knew where I was going because I was establishing a track record that said I'm going somewhere and I'm putting in the effort and the energy. And I started getting opportunities that I didn't have before. When I gave up my career after 20 years in 2008 to start my own lean manufacturing organization, I went 9 months without earning a penny. I thought I was going to go under, but I was willing to go under because of the hope that I had to go do what I wanted to do, which at that time was lean manufacturing consulting. But I gave up everything, income, the security, the stability. I gave income, benefits, all that stuff. Gave it all up. And it was down to the wire. Used up my my retirement fund covered me for those 9 months while I didn't have an income, because I still had a lot of bills, because I hadn't planned ahead right and got rid of my debt on the front end. I just got hungry to grow, so I still had all that debt, but I didn't get the gain till later. But within a year, my income was 50% more. It took a year though, almost. And then a year after that, it was almost 4 times as much as when I had gave up my entire income that I had worked 20 years to get. But the gain came later. Most people ain't willing to wait. They want what they got right now, and they want to stack something else on top of it. They don't want to give up. Just don't want to give up. But sacrifice is the foundation for discipline. See, giving all that stuff up, that wasn't enough. That was just the foundational layer to support the next layer, discipline. Giving up created space, but now I had to have the discipline to do something with that space. Here's a quote in my book from David Foster Wallace. He said, "Everything I've ever let go of has claw marks on it." I promise you that Z06, when that guy took it out of the yard, it had claw marks on it. I was hanging on to that puppy. I didn't want it to go. And I got rid of it first, so I still had the Raptor, so that was okay. But when I got rid of the Raptor, I stepped out of it and I got in a Nissan Sentra. It just wasn't the same, I got to tell you. The Raptor had some claw marks on it. When you give up something of lesser value, you are positioned to gain something of greater value. But most people aren't willing to do it. You got to have discipline. We're going to talk about that in the next episode. But when we sacrifice, we remove things from our life that are holding us back. We rid ourselves of those things that are tapping into our resources, such as time, money, and energy. And recovering some of our most valuable resources is only half the battle. That's what I was talking about. Like for me in 2012, I gave up drinking alcohol. I was never the daily drinker, but when I drank, I usually drank way more than I needed. I was the partying guy, the tailgating guy, the Saturday afternoons, hanging out by the pool, drinking guy. During hunting season, when I used to hunt, that's another sacrifice. I gave up hunting. But used to, I scouted for a month before the season. Then I bow hunted. Then I hunted with a rifle. So nearly about 6 months of a year, I was focused on hunting. And I didn't drink at all most of the time, ever, during those 6 months. But I made up for it during the 6 months that I wasn't hunting. Then I was hanging out, having fun, and all that sort of stuff. But when I gave up alcohol, I got back a lot of time. I got back the money for the alcohol. I got back the money for all the stuff I would waste money on while I was drinking alcohol, like going out to the bar and buying everybody drinks, or being at a restaurant and buying everybody food. I mean, I used to leave a bar. Sometime I'd have $800 or $900 bar tab just because I was a nice guy and I had money to blow and I blew it. And I made a lot of friends and I'd buy everybody drinks at the bar. And, it cost me a lot of money. So when I stopped drinking alcohol, I saved a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of headaches. That's the more time I got back. I didn't wake up with headaches. I didn't wake up hungover. So I had a lot of time. Sacrifice created that space. But that's still only half the battle. So once we have made additional resources available, and I'm just telling you, one example right there. There's a lot of things I gave up. Just getting rid of the Corvette. I saved money. I got back money. And I got time, because I used to take that thing and just ride around in it all the time. I just loved riding in it. But I was wasting my time. It wasn't getting me anywhere. It wasn't taking me anywhere. But it didn't matter initially because I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't have hope or even understand that I could go somewhere. And the thing about it is, if I want another Corvette, I'll get one day. Right now, I could care less. The difference will be, though, if I get another one day, it'll be like the truck I just bought. It'll be paid for in cash. That's a lot different. I used to have to make payments when I bought those things. And now, if I want something, I'm going to pay for it in cash or I ain't going to get it. Remember I told you freedom and options? Today, I got freedom and options. And it was a hard, long road to get there. We had to give up everything financially, everything. Because we got hungry to go out and do actually what I'm doing for you at this moment. Trying to help you go have a better life. Help you develop freedom and options. And yes, it was for me because this is what I want to do. But purely for me and not helping others, I wouldn't have give up any of that stuff because I kind of liked all that stuff. But once we've made additional resources available, we must intentionally use them to advance ourselves toward our vision. You must ask and answer the following questions. Then you must act on the answers. That's a key piece. A lot of people don't act. They may ask the questions, but they may not act on them. But sacrifice demonstrates commitment. And again, when you give up something of lesser value, you are positioned to gain something of greater value. Doesn't mean you're automatically going to gain it, but you are positioned to gain it. Henry David Thoreau said this: the price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. I exchanged a lot of life for the alcohol. I exchanged a lot of life for the car and the truck that I had back in those days. But are you committed to reaching a higher level? Talk about being positioned, but are you committed to reaching a higher level? Your words will not demonstrate your commitment. However, your sacrifices will. And when you make sacrifices, you are communicating to the world something else is more important. Your actions convey more than a desire for a change. They convey a commitment to change. That's why I tell you what all I've done and stopped doing and changed. Not to impress you. I have no need to impress you. I have a big need to inspire you to go make your life better. But I'm not trying to impress anybody. People who have a habit of impressing people, when they hear me talk, they think, oh, he's trying to impress somebody, because that's what they do. That's the only reason they tell of their accomplishment. Because they're not trying to really motivate and inspire somebody. They're trying to say, whoo, look at me. I'm doing good. That ain't why I'm telling you. I'm trying to motivate and inspire you. Tell you I've lived what I'm teaching you. But if you choose to waste your time and money, you also send a message to anyone paying attention. Your actions always reveal your values. Wasting your money, time, and energy tells others you're okay with where you are and what you're doing. However, since you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume you're not satisfied and want to make a change. If so, it's time to stop talking about changing and start actually changing. So I'm going to talk about these questions. I mentioned it a while ago, but you got to ask and answer the following questions. And then the true key, you've got to act on the answers. So how much extra time do I have? That's one of the questions. A lot of people tell me they're so busy they don't have extra time, but they watch 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of TV. Not once a week. Every day these people do. People watch TV every day and tell me they ain't got time. Actually, they tell me they ain't got time. Then I say, oh, really? You don't ever watch TV? Oh, yeah, I watch blah, blah, blah. Well, that's time. Or they play games. Or they scroll social media. Or they drink and party and have a good time. I don't know what people do. But I know people who are serious, they can get rid of that stuff, make some sacrifices, and they have plenty of time. Because, see, we all got the same amount of time in a day. Somebody who really didn't have time would be somebody who's working maybe 18 hours a day. They working, literally working. And they drive 30 minutes back and forth to work, and they sleep about 4 or 5 hours. Those folks, they ain't got time. They busy. But see, they really do have time. They got to figure out how to stop working those 18 hours. They may be working these crazy hours because they got all this stuff they want to pay for that they can't afford, so they have to work. They're looking for stability and security, but they don't have freedom and options. So how much extra time do I have? And if you think you ain't got none, well, you need to get busy creating some, because you got it. You got to give something up. How can I utilize the extra time once you get it? How much money have I saved? Most of the time when you give up things to create time, you actually save money. How much money have you saved? How can I utilize the extra money to create my preferred future? For me, I went from just buying books. All I had ever done was bought books. The first time I invested to go hear somebody like me actually speak, I paid $5,000 to do it. I went from only had bought books, $18, $25 books, to all of a sudden I spent $5,000. And then I took my son with me, so I spent another $5,000, Rhea and I did, to take him with me. I freed up time, space. I had vision. I had hope. For you, it may be going to get a degree, going to get some certificate, going to get some kind of education. Who knows? Maybe buying a book. You may not have ever bought a book. This ought to be the first one you buy if that's the case, because it's going to set you up to leverage everything else that you do. How can I be more effective? What do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to keep doing? What's stopping me? This is an important one. What's stopping me from taking action? What else do I need to sacrifice? I'm going to tell you what a lot of people need to sacrifice, and it's a hard one. They need to sacrifice some relationships. So what I'm saying is you need to start sacrificing personal relationships that are not moving you in the right direction. Most people have some of them. Some people have a bunch of them, meaning a bunch of relationships. Why is this so important? Consider Jim Rohn's words and thoughts in this area. He says, we become the combined average of the 5 people we hang around the most. We start to eat what they eat, drink what they drink, talk like they talk, read what they read, think like they think, watch what they watch, dress like they dress. And I'll add this to his quote right there. We also tend to get the results they are getting. And unfortunately, for most, relationships are the hardest sacrifice to make. People often stay in bad personal relationships for far too long and in bad professional relationships for far too long. And both are detrimental to your preferred future. Change what needs to be changed, not what is easy to change. So why do you enter into any activity with anything but commitment to achieve your objective of that activity? Not a desire to achieve your objective, but a commitment. Those were the words from Samuel L. Parker. So think about this. I'm going to end on this piece. But think about it. You most likely have left someone behind in order to be where you are today. They moved on and you moved on. You changed and developed new relationships. They did too. Life went on. Don't fear change. Fear being stuck in a place you don't want to be. I'm going to end on these words by Dr. Henry Cloud. If you want a better life personally and or professionally, you have to ask yourself this question. Who am I surrounding myself with day to day? Those who support and create energy for change, or those who are stuck in the comfort of what is? Think about those words. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Max Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Max books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.